All right, guys, I am with Erin Perrine. She is the Principal Deputy Communications Director. That's a long title. Better title, better person, right? So, obviously, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte was a slim margin for President Trump in 2016. Obviously, the convention will be here in about 6 months. Is North Carolina a state that you guys are worried about in the campaign?
North Carolina is a state we feel good about on the campaign. We know that President Trump's policies have made a difference here in North Carolina, and so you'll see us in the state. We haven't really left. Our ground game's been pretty consistent in the state, so we're training volunteers, we're knocking doors, and we're engaging voters here throughout the year, not just convention and not just today, to make sure that North Carolina stays with President Trump in 2020.
Obviously, the big news today, Pete Buttigieg last night dropped out, Amy Klobuchar this morning dropped out, and then Susan Rice endorsed Joe Biden. Seems like the establishment has kind of rallied behind one candidate. How do you think that this Biden late surge affects the 2020 landscape?
Well, it's clear that the Democrat Party did not like the way things were going, and so they're putting their finger on the scale. They've gotten Klobuchar to drop out, Buttigieg to drop out, and now they've got Susan Rice stepping in. Why? Because this is going to try and coalesce power around Joe Biden. He's not a very strong candidate. You would think after 30 years he'd be a little bit better at running for president, and he's just not that good at it. It's clear they don't like Bernie, and so they're trying to make sure that who they want wins. Early votes have already been cast for Super Tuesday when you look at it. So there are already votes out there for Amy and for Pete, and they're not going to count. They're not going to matter really because they're not running anymore. So it doesn't make sense that they would drop out other than to try to lift Joe.
And obviously, President Trump's had a lot of fun the last couple days on Twitter with all three of the leading candidates, Bernie, Biden, and Bloomberg. Democrats seem to be in a little bit of a panic. I know Parscale tweeted about that as well. Do you think the Democrats are going to be able to kind of unify themselves leading up to the general election?
I don't know how Democrats unify. It's clearly a very broken party on the Democrat side. But no matter what, if somehow they manage to figure it all out and get in the same boat, they're not going to be as strong as us. They don't have the data. They don't have the infrastructure. They don't have the candidate, no matter who they put up. They don't have the policies or the success. Doesn't matter who they have or if they decide that they can figure it out before Milwaukee in July and how they think they're going to win. President Trump has the better team, and he's the better candidate. So we feel good. We're not taking anything for granted, but we feel good about winning again in November.
And I love that point you brought about the data. Brad Parscale has mentioned that ad nauseum the last couple months. In fact, he tweeted a couple days ago the South Carolina numbers. 38% of attendance were Democrats or independents. What is it about President Trump's agenda that's actually pulling people from the other side of the aisle instead of just unifying his own party?
President Trump puts America first, and he puts Americans first. He's fighting for jobs. He's fighting for better trade deals. He's fighting for families, and he's fighting for their future. That matters to Americans. It matters to them that every day they have a fighter on their side, and they see that in President Trump. You mentioned almost 38% in South Carolina. When we were in Wisconsin, we saw that almost 58% of the registrants were Democrats or independents. We see it city after city, state after state, that the Democrats, independents, and people who haven't voted before are coming into the fold because they know President Trump is their fighter.
You're doing a great job leading me into my next couple questions here. Obviously, the coronavirus has been a big conversation, a topic across the globe, yet the Democrats seem to constantly politicize it, and they can't seem to be willing to unify the country, even in this issue that the people need to have some unity. Why can't Democrats try to unify the country?
Well, Democrats are just continuing another hoax by trying to say that President Trump isn't doing his job, that he's not prepared. But President Trump has taken aggressive steps, and you see that just in the number of people who have coronavirus in the United States. That's because of what President Trump did to try and mitigate that problem in the country, to try and eliminate it as much as he could before it got to our shores. He's got the CDC involved. He's got NIH. He's got everybody involved to make sure that the government is taking care of the people and making sure that we are ready to fight the coronavirus. Democrats, even at their best day, even at America's best day, can't stand with the president. So it's no different right now than when we should be standing together. They just want to talk about the president because I'm certainly not seeing any good answers from them on anything.
One of the things that we've gotten to see all day today in our interviews with people outside is a lot of them are super energetic about the fight between capitalism and socialism, the fight between just general socialistic tendencies with the socialized medicine, and also being able to choose your own doctor, being able to lift yourself out of poverty. One of the things I heard a lot from a few of the Latino Americans were the American dream. What is the campaign doing to make sure that that is a broad theme of this and making sure to help people understand President Trump is fighting for the American dream?
It's clear that President Trump is fighting for the American dream. The campaign slogan is "Keep America Great." because that's what President Trump is focused on. Before it was Make America Great Again, and he has. And so now he wants to keep it great. He wants to keep this country on the right track. And so he has said, and he said in no uncertain terms in the State of the Union, this will never be a socialist country, because those aren't policies that work. You look at socialist countries across the world, and people flee those countries and come to the shores of America because they want a better chance and they want a better opportunity for their families. They don't want government to tell them how to run their business and how to live their lives. President Trump wants Americans to choose. You see that with the tax cuts. President Trump cut taxes to a historic level because he believes that Americans can do better with their own money than the government can. Democrats think, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to tell you how I think I should spend it for you. That's not what this country is about. This country is about freedom and opportunity and the American dream. And President Trump fights for that day in and day out.
One of the things I've loved about the campaign in the last couple months, and I guess this kind of also is echoed in the administration as well, is that they started to take a very unifying approach. The State of the Union was an extremely unifying speech, very uplifting. That new 2-minute ad that they are airing in Colorado was also extremely unifying and extremely positive. What's the thinking behind bringing out a lot of positivity before this re-election campaign?
We've got a great message. We've got a strong message, and we've got an American message. We've got one for every corner of this country that talks about what President Trump has done. So we want to highlight that. We want to talk about that because it's the success of our nation. Coming to a Trump rally is really a very patriotic thing, and it's very unifying. You see Democrats, you see Republicans, you see people who have never voted and have never cared just come because they want to be here and they want to be part of this movement. And so we share that message. And on the campaign, we have a great message to share. And so being able to share a little bit of the magic of a rally and a TV ad, it's a fun, interesting way we can kind of continue the conversation about what happens at these rallies and what the message is.
It's always fun to talk to people who have never been to a rally before and their excitement that they have. And even the people who've been to dozens of them too, they're always super excited for it. Last question, obviously tomorrow, Super Tuesday, big deal for a lot of the Democrats. 1,300 delegates are up for grabs. But just with the campaign's got to figure out who they're going to be battling for the next 6 months. What are you guys looking at? Which states are you guys looking at tomorrow night?
Well, we've got our eyes on some of those key swing states. Obviously, Minnesota is an important state. North Carolina here, Florida. We've got a number of states on the map that we want to protect and expand into, right? Minnesota was very close for us in the last cycle. We feel we can be competitive there. You know, North Carolina and Florida, 2 states we held before. It's not limited to that, but those are some of those states that we think that we can hold and expand upon.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
All right, guys. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a little bit.